André Rieu, the man who defied tradition and turned classical music into a global celebration, might be saying goodbye sooner than we think. At 74, after decades of thrilling millions with his joyful waltzes and extravagant concerts, André's body finally said enough. From performing 100 shows a year to collapsing mid-tour, his health is forcing him to face the reality that his musical empire may have reached its limits. But what led to this shocking downfall? How did the boy who grew up with little affection from his strict father become the king of the waltz, bringing classical music to the masses? And now, as he faces the inevitable slowdown, who will carry on his legacy? Don't miss the inside story of André Rieu's rise, his struggles with health, and the shocking truth about his future in the world of music. Early life. André Rieu was born in Maastricht, Netherlands, in 1949, into a family where music was everything, but love was scarce. His father, a strict conductor of the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra, demanded discipline and excellence from his children, but rarely offered affection. André, the third of 6 children, often felt more like a soldier than a son. His parents' cold demeanor and strict Roman Catholic beliefs made their home feel more like a military camp than a nurturing environment. "My parents didn't love me very much," André once said, a statement that revealed the deep pain he carried from his childhood. The tension between André and his father grew as he developed a love for music. His father's rigid expectations clashed with André's desire to play music with joy and emotion, rather than as a form of cold perfection. André's mother was so focused on his grades and music practice that when teachers recognized his artistic talent, she felt insulted. This rejection from his parents made André feel invisible, unless he was performing perfectly, and he spent years in therapy trying to understand why his childhood felt so empty. Yet, perhaps that emptiness fueled his passion for music, igniting the desire to change how the world experienced classical music. Musical passion at the age of 5. Something unexpected happened that would shape André Rieu's future. He fell in love with music. However, it wasn't the violin that captured his heart. It was his violin teacher. She was 18, blonde and beautiful, and André found it hard to focus on his lessons because he was so distracted by her. But this crush became the driving force that made him pick up his violin every day. He wasn't focused on scales or technique. He was enamored by the way she played. He studied her hand movements, her sound, and within weeks, André had mastered something most children struggled with: vibra, the emotional wobble in sound that makes music come alive. While other kids were still working on basic notes, André had already grasped the emotional depth that music could convey. This idea, that music wasn't just about perfection, but about feeling, became the foundation of his musical journey. He didn't care about playing every note flawlessly. He cared about making the music speak to the soul. That early realization would stick with him for life and influence everything he would do as a musician. He didn't want to just play music. He wanted to make it come alive. Family struggles. As André grew older, the tension with his father only deepened. He wanted to break free from the rigid, serious classical music that his father revered, and instead sought to bring joy, energy, and life into his music. When he told his father that he wanted to play waltzes, his father rejected him coldly, saying, "I didn't educate you to do waltzes." It was a crushing moment for André, and it marked the start of a rift that would never heal. Things only worsened when André brought his future wife, Marjorie, home. Instead of welcoming her, his mother told her to leave and ordered André to go back to his clean room like a child. This was the final straw for André. He walked out with Marjorie, never looking back. From that day on, his parents never attended any of his concerts, even as he filled arenas around the world. When his father passed away in 1992, he did so without ever seeing the success André had achieved. The pain from his family's rejection remained with André, but it also gave him the determination to follow his own path. It wasn't just about proving himself to them. It was about finding his own voice in a world that had always tried to silence him. The birth of the orchestra. While working in his father's orchestra, André began to notice something strange. Most of the musicians didn't seem to care about the music. They talked about the weather, complained about pay, and lacked passion. To André, it felt lifeless. But during the encores, something magical happened. When the orchestra played a Strauss waltz, the audience came alive. People smiled, hummed, and the energy in the room shifted. That was when André realized the power of music wasn't about impressing critics. It was about moving people. This revelation ignited a spark in André. He wasn't content with just playing the notes on the page. He wanted to create music that would touch the hearts of everyone who heard it. One day, he performed a soft serenade for a dying woman who hadn't opened her eyes in days. As the music filled the room, she opened her eyes, and André understood something profound. Music had the power to heal and bring people to life. It was this realization that drove André to start his own orchestra. In 1978, at 29 years old, with a newborn son at home and limited funds, he formed the Maastricht Salon Orchestra with just a handful of musicians. They played at small events and town halls, but André was determined to make a name for himself. His focus was clear. He wasn't going to settle for the rigid, traditional world of classical music. He wanted to change it. The breakthrough in 1987, André Rieu found himself at a crossroads. He had been leading the Maastricht Salon Orchestra for nearly a decade, but something was missing. The excitement was gone, and the old format no longer felt enough. André wanted to create something bigger, something that would truly capture the magic of music in a way that hadn't been seen before. He didn't just want to play classical music. He wanted to bring it to life with energy, joy, and spectacle, something that could make people feel alive. Starting something new was a huge risk. Hiring professional musicians meant more financial pressure, and classical music wasn't exactly known for taking risks. But André had a vision, and he wasn't going to let fear stop him. On January 1st, 1988, his new creation, the Johann Strauss Orchestra, held its first concert. It was small, just 12 musicians and a modest crowd. But something about it felt different. André didn't follow the traditional rules. He didn't dress the orchestra in black. The stage wasn't quiet and formal. Instead, he infused the performance with laughter, folk tunes, dramatic lighting, and theatrical flair. Critics were unimpressed, calling it gimmicky and cheap. But the audience, they clapped, they smiled, and they got involved. André had found something special. The spark had been ignited, and he wasn't about to let it go. Controversy and criticism. As André Rieu's popularity grew, so did the criticism from the classical music world. Many traditionalists were outraged by his unconventional approach to the genre. They accused him of turning classical music into a circus, with some even calling his performances musical pornography. Critics didn't like his colorful stage outfits, the lively atmosphere, or the simplified arrangements of the music. To them, Rieu was undermining centuries of tradition. The backlash only intensified when, in 2008, André went a step further with his extravagant stage designs. He built a replica of Vienna's Schönbrunn Palace, complete with fountains, ice rinks, and horses, just for a backdrop to his performance. It cost $34 million, and purists were horrified. But André stood firm. He believed that music should be accessible to everyone, not just experts in concert halls. He wanted people to experience the joy and beauty of classical music in a way that didn't feel exclusive or elitist. Despite the harsh reviews, André refused to back down. He believed that music had the power to connect with people from all walks of life, and he wasn't willing to let tradition stifle that. Over time, his concerts continued to fill arenas and attract millions of fans, proving that his bold vision had struck a chord with audiences worldwide. The critics may have scorned him, but André was creating a musical revolution. Health challenges. André Rieu's relentless touring schedule began to take its toll as the years went on. In 2016, tragedy struck during what was supposed to be a joyful Christmas tour in the UK. His longtime trombonist, Ruud Merckx, suffered a sudden cardiac arrest and passed away. The loss hit André and his orchestra hard. Merckx had been with him for over 2 decades. André, deeply affected by the loss, made the difficult decision to cancel the remaining UK shows, a rare move for a man known for his commitment to never missing a performance. But health issues weren't new for André. In 2010, he lost his balance due to a viral infection in his inner ear, which sidelined his tour and took months to recover from. Despite this setback, André continued to push through, performing even with a high fever in 2019, never letting anyone see the pain he was in. However, the situation in Mexico City in 2024 marked a turning point. At 74, André's body finally gave out after just 2 performances, leaving him feverish, dizzy, and feeling like he was 100 years old. This was the first time he admitted that he might need to slow down. Following the incident, André made it clear that he would no longer push himself to the brink. His son, Pierre, who had already taken over many of the business responsibilities, stepped in to ensure that André could still do what he loved without risking his health. It was a difficult decision, but it marked a new chapter in André's life, a chapter where his well-being was just as important as his music. Legacy and future. As André Rieu approaches his 75th birthday, his legacy as a revolutionary figure in classical music is undeniable. He turned waltzes, once seen as old-fashioned and outdated, into a global phenomenon. His concerts became celebrations of life, where audiences clapped, danced, and even sang along, breaking down the barriers that traditionally separated musicians and their fans. But as his health continues to be a concern, André is contemplating the future of his career. His son, Pierre, has already taken over many of the production responsibilities, ensuring that the family business runs smoothly. Pierre has been instrumental in planning more manageable tours, focusing on smaller, closer shows in Europe. André's wish to continue performing is clear, but he knows that he can't keep up with the exhausting schedule of a global performer. While André may be slowing down, his love for music and his passion for sharing it with the world remain as strong as ever. His vision of making classical music accessible to everyone, regardless of age, background, or knowledge, continues to inspire future generations of musicians. With his family firmly behind him, especially his granddaughter Daisy, who is already rehearsing with the orchestra at just 9 years old, the Rieu legacy is in good hands. André's journey isn't over yet. As he contemplates what might be his final farewell tour, one thing is certain: his influence on the world of music, the joy he brought to millions, and the barrier-breaking path he carved for classical music will live on long after his final note is played. If you were captivated by André Rieu's incredible journey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated on his legacy and more. But here's the real question. What does the future hold for a man who once swore he'd perform until 140? Can he truly step away from the stage, or will his passion continue to push him to new heights? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're craving more behind-the-scenes stories from music legends, don't miss our next video, Why Stevie Nicks Refused to Perform with Them Ever Again. Coming soon!